All right, so this is another article I wanted to respond to. Music Tech published this about 4 days ago, and it's an interview with Tony Visconti, who I think is a record producer. Anyway, oh look, Plugin Alliance just liked my comment. Um, all right, we don't have enough geniuses making records anymore. Tony Visconti explains how the role of the record producer has changed in the modern age. Uh, People are still making organic music, and I'm involved in a couple of groups that are doing that, but labels are frightened of that. All right. So, producer and composer Tony Visconti. Um, he produced iconic records for artists such as David Bowie and Mark Bolan. I don't know who that is. Has remarked that labels now bypass producers and sign artists who are simply a whiz on the laptop and make their own stuff. Hey man, it is what it is. You know, if the masses like that electronic music, then your production of the music is in the box. It's MIDI performances. You know, you don't even technically have to know how to play an instrument properly as long as you can get the notes in there. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a old video game called Mario Paint, but you can make music in that. And there's actually people who still make music with Mario Paint, and they post videos on YouTube. Um, it's actually kind of funny. But anyway, let's keep reading this article. By the way, I will be posting a link to this. Unlike a lot of video creators, I do link to my sources whenever I remember to. So this is my own reminder to do that. The music industry is going through many tumultuous changes right now. The rise of AI, that's very true. The impact of social media such as TikTok, very true, on how artists approach making music. And various financial difficulties that come with low royalty rates across streaming platforms. Well, it's better than, I would say, people getting the music for free off of Napster, but that's a whole other discussion. The role of the artist has certainly changed, but Visconti feels the role of the producer is vastly different now too. Speaking to Super Deluxe Edition, they didn't even Music Tech didn't even interview him. It's actually some I don't even know what that is. Super Deluxe. Hold on. I never heard of Super Deluxe Edition.com. Okay. Well, maybe I'll have to check this website out later. Anyway, he shares his thoughts on the matter. In my generation, the 70s was such a golden decade because people were making real records and real studios with great musicians, and we didn't have auto tune, and the only way you got into the recording studio is by being great. And I think he used the word great a little bit too much, but talented is a better word than great. Record labels signed people who were talented. They didn't sign a cute looking person. They didn't sign a cute looking person and then fix the voice, fix the image, Photoshop the photos, which came later. Oh, I 100% agree with that. There are some, we'll just say, quote unquote singers who, yeah, I'm not even going to get into that. He said it all there. With the record industry now, they almost bypass producers completely and go with some young person who is a whiz on the laptop and makes their own stuff. I have to say, though, one of the biggest hits of last year was actually a remake of the song Blue, and the producer of that, the guy's like actually in his 50s. You know, and so he's a laptop producer, but he's in, or maybe a desktop if he's smart. So he's a desktop producer, which is what I might start being. I'm gonna try my hand at composing music, just for fun. Somebody asked me to do it. I figured I'd try. If I'm bad at it, then I'll stop. But anyway, yeah, that was Bebe Rexha. I can't remember the producer's name though. Um, Anyway, if I remember it, I'll put it below. That guy's in his 50s. He's in great shape, but he's in his 50s. So it's not just young people doing this. I'm not in my 20s anymore. So anyway, it's anybody who can produce it like that. I mean, hey, to me, if you can compose music, even if you can't play that music live per se, you may not be a traditional musician, but you're a musician, in my opinion. If you can make something that sounds good and people like it, you're a musician. Doesn't matter how you create it, as long as you're not stealing from other people. Even if you're using loops and stuff, still. Let's see. They make their own videos, that's true. And I think that's very admirable, thank you. But it has less dimensions in it than the organic music does. He later adds, people are still making organic music, and I'm involved in a couple of groups that are doing that, but labels are frightened of that, and the labels never had courage. Never ever in a million years did labels have courage to break new ground. It happened in spite of them. That's true. But I will say this, because there was a lot more money going around back then. People were actually paying for music instead of paying $10 a month to one company, to Spotify, and then it was divvied up amongst a bunch of different people. People would buy like a new CD every week or a couple CDs every month. That's what I did when I was a kid. We also had these bigger like CD warehouse club things where you could get 10 CDs for the price of two of them or whatever. I can't remember, but I just know that people used to value music more because they would actually buy albums. They could also buy single CDs that would usually have two other songs on them. But for the most part, people would buy albums on CD or cassette back in my days. And then Napster came along. Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa, the names go on. But the bottom line is 1999 changed everything. Anyway, you get someone like Mark Bowling coming up, or a Bowie. The times now aren't right for a new Bowie to come out. He would be too radical. You wouldn't sound like the top 10. And why should he? Why should anyone sound like the top 10? We've got enough of these people. That's true. Enough of those people. But we don't have enough geniuses making records anymore. I'll tell you that much. Well, I gotta agree. Music is very cookie cutter. One of my goals is to do the cookie cutter stuff, but then also expand on that. And actually, it's something that I had mentioned to a few musicians that were of the organic type, to blend these more electronic elements with their music. And I was talking about doing this back in like 2008. Back when dubstep first was getting popular, and I was met with some backlash, but it's funny because about 14 years later that actually happened. it took over a decade for my advice to be followed. I mean, I don't know. That's why I think Linkin Park stood the test of time, because they have a sound that even back in 2000 when they first started, it blended those electronic elements with electric guitars and acoustic drums and rap, and it just all worked well together. Hybrid theory indeed. So let's see Mr. Visconti's website here. I gotta zoom in on it because everything's made with smartphones in mind, not widescreen monitors. Don't get me started on that. But anyway, here we go. So he worked on David Bowie. I don't know who that is. Emily's Devolution. Oh, here we go. Sonic. Oh, he was behind Dave Grohl. Cool. Well, hold on. Oh, he was featured in it. Okay. He wrote the string arrangement and conducted a 25-piece string section comprised of okay. Nice. They went to Abbey Road Studios. That's cool. Anyone who hears analog for the first time thinks, why don't we record like this anymore? The sound is unmistakably better. All right. Whoa, wait a minute. Is this whole song up here for free? Okay, I can't play that. The Thin Lizzy, T-Rex. I know these some of these bands here. Let's check out. I see if I play that, I might get dinged. So I'm not gonna do that. Who else? Christine Young, Morrissey. Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, Tony Visconti. I agree with you. I agree with you. I wish we would have, but I just don't see it happening because, again, music has become so devalued. And I recommend this to anybody who's trying to make it in the music industry. Record your stuff, mix your stuff, master your stuff as cheaply as possible. If you need my help, I don't charge much for my mastering services. Mixing, not so much because I do spend a lot of time mixing, but I can, take your mix to the next level with the skills that I've acquired over the past, oh my goodness, am I going on 15 years of doing this somewhat professionally? I would even say I would say 2007. 2008 is when I did my first full-length album of mixing and mastering, but even before then, I was known as like the audio guy at my college. So, I'll just put it this way. People like my mixes, they like my masters. If you need some help, I can, give you my consultation. I'm not going to do it for free. I did it for free on this channel. Just go through my old videos. You'll have a lot of advice there. But, as far as just, I'm telling you, you don't need to have all the fancy studio equipment and all that to get your music made. I think everybody out there wish they were able to do that, but realistically, musician I just worked with, they made less than $1 in like 3 or 4 months being on Spotify and Apple Music and all that, and you got to be able to promote your music, and if people aren't streaming it, people aren't buying it, like why spend all that money and there's no return on it? So, spend as little as you possibly can. And I hope to be doing that here on Real Home Recording. I will be linking to primarily this interview. So this will be the first link, and I'll put this one as the second link so you guys can check it out. I pretty much just read the whole article, though, but I'll also link to Mr. Visconti's website. You guys can see it on your computer screen, but it's a little bit easier if I just put the link up. Anyway, see y'all.